Rolling around at the speed of sound. Got places to go, got to follow my rainbow. Can't stick. I didn't see you there. Yeah. Now, I first met the Puyo games in my childhood. There was a game on the Genesis called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and it was really my first experience with a puzzle game that I was, really interested in. I mean, at the time we had Tetris, and we would link it up on our Game Boys and play at school, but it was never really interesting. I mean, sometimes you would get the little line on the bottom when you did anything, and the line would appear and go after your friends on the bottom of their screen, and I mean, it was okay. Here's a little history on the Puyo games. They're considered tile matching games. Kind of like columns. That annoying game with the columns that you flip around and you just put it down 3 at a time. I guess they made a jewel one. The mechanics of Puyo games are similar to Sane Game from 1985. But really, the first Puyo game was released in 1991, after the success of Dr. Mario. Now, a Puyo is a little creature in the game Monogatari. I guess that's how you say it. It's a 1989 game from Compile. Here's a little bit on the gameplay. Puyo games use the Puyos as blocks. They fall from the top of the screen to the bottom, and as they fall, you have to group 4 together to get rid of them. However, Puyo games are generally multiplayer. Sure, there's some single-player component, but even in that, there's AI opponents. And when you clear Puyos, you get a small gray Puyo that appears on your opponent's screen to mess him up. You have to clear these Puyos by clearing adjacent ones, but if they get in the way of what you're trying to do, then you just punch your friend in the face. Chains. Chains are the lifeblood of the Puyo series. You get a chain by clearing a Puyo set, which results in another set being cleared. So you stack these chains on top of each other, and eventually you're going to get this one thing that comes down and clears all of them. One after another after another. This can go on for several times. But chains have risk involved. If you set up a chain so that where you put your next block is integral, sometimes the computer will drop a block right there by clearing one of their own Puyo sets. Then you're in trouble. You just keep putting them down. This game had an element of risk versus reward to it. Heck, the entire series does. There's a great risk in setting up a whole bunch of chains to defeat your opponent, but at the same time, if you complete a long chain, man, you should see the huge amount of gray Puyos that just pour down on the screen on your opponent. They just come crashing down like an avalanche of death.
Avalanche of death.
This risk versus reward gameplay, it's sort of lost on a lot of puzzle games today. A lot of them, they don't really involve much of a risk, and the reward is minimal for doing it. I don't know, I always thought it was pretty cool. Competitive drive. In having an AI player to defeat, you have a purpose, a reason to do well. Tetris sort of lacks the AI component, and in fact can lose reason for competing. There's no reason to continue in an endless game if all you're doing is trying to beat a score. It sort of has a facelessness to it, and these Puyo games, and especially Puzzle Fighter, which doesn't count as a Puyo game, it's a different type of game entirely, they have their own gameplay element because of this competitive nature. Even though you're just competing against a computer in the one-player mode, it still has a whole range of emotion attached to it. You really want to beat the guy. He's being really irritating, it's
kind of annoying that he's just dropping or something.
It's worth mentioning that this competitive component in the Puyo and Puzzle Fighter series, they helped keep die-hard fan bases active long after the games came out. I mean, heck, Puyo games are still coming out on the DS and Wii. Hey, wait a minute, that Tetris Game Over song, isn't that the NCIS theme song? Well, for me, these Puyo games, they'll always have a special place in my heart, especially Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And I remember Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, I got so good at one point that I had to play by myself. Now what I mean is that my brothers and I would switch off. And they were all younger than me, and so, there was a point where we were able to switch off easily and play the game, but eventually the game got too hard for them. And I beat every single thing I could in Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I don't know, they're pretty cool games. Hey, don't forget to like us if you enjoyed what you saw today. If you want to see future videos, please subscribe. And if you want to drop us a line, please leave something in the comments and we'll try to get back to you. Thanks.